Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comic review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our bigger show. We'll get into it, where we talk about some of the new biggest books that are releasing this week to your local comic book store, or to Infinity Flux and infinityflux.net, because that's where we are right now. So, Matt will give you some of the deets.
Yeah, so as of the time of this recording, we have not yet received our books from Lunar, which is DC, which is Image, which is Mad Cave, and all of those publishers. So for this show, we only have mostly Marvel and a couple others as well. We'll explain those later. But and usually when this happens, we do a part one, which is Marvel, and a part two, which is everything else. But we're actually not going to be able to do a separate part two video like we normally do. So we are going to try to talk about some of the bigger books from DC and Image and those guys on our live show on Wednesday. Now, it won't be a video like this. It'll just be more of a casual conversation about some of them, because there's some cool stuff like Absolute Superman, and there's a Superman Treasury one shot, which looks really cool. So we're going to talk about a few of those on our live show on Wednesday, but for actual preview videos this week, it's mostly just going to be this right here. Yeah, so sorry, they will be on the website, and they will be available in store by New Comic Book Day, so don't worry about that. We just don't have them here now.
Yeah, because of the 4th of July, and then shipping schedules get a little mixed up and everything. These books came in earlier. Now we're just waiting on the others, but rest assured they will be there. Keep checking the website as the days get closer to Wednesday to see if they're up there, but they'll be here by Wednesday. But we do still have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about that's coming out from Marvel and a couple other things, but maybe just not as big of a show as we would normally do. But a pretty fantastic show, if I do say so myself.
We're going to start with a couple of really fantastic
You say
books.
Maybe our first steps into this fantastic show.
We are going to start with Fantastic Four #1, and this is the new ongoing series from Ryan North and Humberto Ramos. The previous run ended last month, and now we've got this brand new one. And this, I'll go ahead and tell you, this is awesome. I love this. So this issue starts right in the middle of a big fight between the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom, who refers to himself as Emperor Doom, so that we know it takes place during the One World Under Doom event, even though the banner's not there. And Doom uses his magic to send each member of the Fantastic Four to a different era in time. Johnny winds up about 521 million years in the past before there was any life on Earth, and also when the oxygen content of Earth was only about 20% of what it is today. Ben is transported about 92 million years in the past when dinosaurs roamed the Earth, and he has to fight a few of them, which is really fun. Reed lands in the year 1266. And Sue winds up almost 8 million years in the future, where the dying sun has boiled off Earth's oceans and killed all life on the planet. So they are very, very separated from each other. And we follow each character individually as they look for something called the Forever Stone, which is this mass of dense granite that is one of the longest lasting rocks on the planet. And we learned that Reed has been tracking this stone over the past several years. Reed has a lot of experiments, and he has been tracking this stone's location throughout history as a failsafe, as a backup plan, that if the Fantastic Four if we're this very situation, if the Fantastic Four ever get separated from each other in different periods in time, they know to look for this one stone, because Reed knows that this stone persists throughout all time. And when they find the stone, they each carve the date that they're in. They have these computers built into their suits. And Johnny is able to use his firepower to carve in the date, the point in time that he's at. And then everybody that's further ahead in time than Johnny can see it. So when Ben finds the stone, he sees that Johnny has carved his time in there. Ben does the same thing, and then when Reed finds the stone, he's able to carve in his time as well. So there is a little bit of a problem though that they're going to face, and I won't tell you what that is, but it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for them to sort of come back together. But yeah, it's really cool. I really like this. The first thing you notice off the bat about this issue is the beautiful artwork, and then beyond that, it's just really cool to see how each character handles themselves
Hmm.
in the time period that they're in. And I thought that the parts with Reed and Sue were particularly interesting because they take a much more science-based approach to the situation that they find themselves in. So there's not a lot of action in this, but it doesn't matter because it's still just really
Hmm.
cool seeing each member of the team. It's like Johnny, for example, he's all about fire, but the planet has much less oxygen, so he's not able to really do a lot of his fire stuff that he does.
He tries
It's
to figure out like what's a way I can get more
yeah.
oxygen, and of course when Ben gets there, it is in the time of dinosaurs, so there might be some stuff he runs up against.
Yeah.
They each kind of individually face their own challenge when they get there, and even some stuff is like, oh, that's convenient that they're all near the stone. They're not all near the
Right.
stone. And especially when you get to Reed's thing, it's like, oh wow, like this is a big thing. But this book is, I mean, and this series has been the previous run by the same writer is why I love Fantastic
Yep.
Four. It is not necessarily an action book. It's like a classic adventure book.
Yeah.
Given
Science
some
adventures.
science
Yeah.
adventures, weird scenarios.
Uh-huh.
How do you deal with this weird scenario? How do you take all the information you have to save whatever you're trying to save? And I think this is even though it is by the same writer, a great jumping on point
It
and a
is.
perfect example of why this is one of the best books being published right now.
Absolutely, yeah. So I recommend everybody check this out. You don't really need to know anything about the Fantastic Four other than just who they are
Hmm.
to jump on this. If you're excited about the movie, definitely check this out and the next book that we'll talk about too. But beautiful artwork, gorgeous colors, a really just interesting story, and it's not a one and done. Like it's going to
Yeah.
continue into the next several issues as they figure out how to all come back together. I don't know how they're going to do it. Like there's especially with a couple of the obstacles that they face in this book. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I loved it so much. So and it's nice because we had Captain America #1 last week, which was so good. Now we've got Fantastic Four. So I would love to see more #1s from Marvel, just like treating their prize characters with such care. There's even a like an afterword from Ryan North in the back that when you read it, you just sort of know that yeah, he gets it. Ryan North really gets these characters. He
Yeah.
really understands what makes the Fantastic Four special. I love what he said about what #1s do. A #1 is like a porch light on a
Yeah.
house, like welcoming everybody. Come on in. The water's fine. Let's tell some good stories and things like that. So highly recommend it. If you're even mildly curious about the Fantastic Four, this is a wonderful book to get. This is a complete home run for me, and I can't wait to see like where this story goes and how they overcome this obstacle.
Also, if you want to see Reed Richards bend himself into some really
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
shapes, this is the book for you.
Yeah, and he's really done that a lot in the previous series too. So it's like Ryan North has like he can take Reed's shapeshifting, or I guess and I don't know how much of it is his idea and how much is the artist. I don't know if he's just like, hey, Humberto, just like do something, but like he has the like other than just like Reed stretching, like he's really creative. Like, what else could Reed do if he could really stretch his body?
Yeah.
It gets to almost like Plastic Man levels,
Yeah.
but it's really cool. I loved it so much. I loved it. I loved it. It's my pick of the week. So this is our A cover right here. There's some great variants. One from Alan Davis. There is this awesome Alex Ross variant with
Yeah.
Galactus. That'll get you ready for the movie right there. This is the Ji Young Lee variant. We have this Clip Chang variant. Here is the Art of Marvel Studios variant. We're going to see this in just a couple of weeks. This is our Invisible Woman variant, or if you want to call it a blank sketch variant, that's fine too. I love this Scotty Young variant, and this is going to be a connecting cover with the next few issues, and you'll see like Reed stretch across,
Hmm.
things like that. This is our Marvel Rivals variant. And then we have this really nice foil Muhammad Asrar variant. And then this is the 1 in 25 Claudio variant that we're selling for $9.99. We have this 1 in 25 Jerome Opeña variant that we're also selling for $9.99. I really like that one
Yeah.
a lot. And there is this 1 in 50 John Buscema cover that we're selling for $14.99. And then there is this 1 in 100 Lorenzo variant that we're selling for $44.99. Now, this one is slightly damaged. I don't know what the damage is. It may be on the back, but it presents really well. Like, I can't see anything on the cover, so it may be on the back.
Well, speaking of Fantastic Four, we got to talk about Fantastic Four First Steps number 1. This is a one-shot, and it's always fun to try to explain books like this. So to begin with, this is by Matt Fraction. The art is by Mark Buckingham. But this comic is in universe of the MCU and the new Fantastic Four movie. So this comic would exist in that universe.
Yeah, it's like it's not just an adaptation, right?
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's not like, your Batman 89 was like this exists. This is like if the kids in the movie could go buy this comic book.
Yeah. This comic fell through a dimensional portal into our reality. Because this is this universe's way of telling people the origin of the Fantastic Four and some of their early adventures. There's a great opening kind of blurb by one of the editors talking about we worked in tandem with the Future Foundation and with the Fantastic Four to get as accurate of a story as possible about their early careers. So, it's not like this is supposed to be a movie you're watching or whatever. This is within universe artists and writers, worked with the Fantastic Four to create this. But what's cool about this is, and I think we kind of know from just stuff about the movie, that the movie is going to take place about 4 years into their career as the Fantastic Four. So we aren't going to be seeing, at least not majorly, their origin, and that's what this tells. And it's really cool because it is very classic. So it's, they get hit by the space. I want to say gamma radiation. It's
the
cosmic rays.
Cosmic rays, yeah.
The cosmic rays. And this shows them going up against some early villains, including Mole Man, which is really cool to see what would the MCU version of Mole Man and Giganto and some of the Moloids, what they look like or would look like within the MCU. But, I almost feel like that is, not that that's the backstory, but the spotlight really shines in the format of this book. So, not only do you get the story of, their origin and fighting Mole Man and a couple other little things, you get some little commentary panels that are like little blue bars with whatever head of whatever character, and it's quotes and stuff taken from either interviews or books or magazines within the universe that kind of help explain what's going on or their ideas at that time. And it's really fun to see what publication they were quoted from and everything. So that part's really cool. And I feel like brings a lot of personality to a very familiar story. There's even some like little references of like, oh, that magazine exists in this universe, and it may sound a little familiar. One of the best ones is Reed Richards is quoted from, was it Dad Science?
Science Dad magazine.
Science
so it's like number 91. So there's a magazine in this universe called Science Dad that has run for what, 7-8 years? I mean,
yeah. So that's really fun, and you kind of get a little bit of their, Reed coming from a scientific perspective, and then Johnny with a little bit more, style and everything. Yeah. The other part of this is really cool. Is there are in-universe ads and little special articles. So there is parts like there's a 2-page. There's quite a bit of text in this. Like, if you want to read this cover to cover, it may take you a little while because you'll turn the page and it looks like a newspaper or magazine article about Reed Richards, with like photos from the movie of Pedro Pascal and stuff. There is a Q&A with Johnny about, if you weren't part of the Fantastic Four, what would your job be? And what kind of advice do you give to kids and stuff like that? It's really fun. There's an ad for the Fantastic Car.
Which is really cool. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. There is a One of the best parts in this is there is an ad for the Flaming Hearts fan club, which is the fan club for Johnny Storm, and it's a 2-page thing. Has a little thing you cut out and fill out, and
Yeah, and
all the
that's
little bonus stuff you get when you join the fan
oh
club.
yeah, and the ads are like from the '60s. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like anything modern. Like you said, there's like a little cutout thing. If you send $2 to
Yeah.
this, you'll also get some stickers and this and the
Yeah,
posters.
you'll
and,
get
yeah.
8 wallet-sized photos of
Right,
Johnny
yeah.
to swoon over and
Yeah.
stuff. It's really fun. So this is, I feel like more. It's a cool comic. It's cool to see the in movie universe origin of them, but it is just as fun to kind of immerse in like, oh, this is what their world kind of feels
Yeah.
like, and the ads and the extra bonus matter in it and everything. So I recommend this. Usually the tie-in movie comics are whatever. I think this one brings an extra flavor to it
Yeah.
that is above average. And yeah, it's really fun. Just getting me more excited about the Fantastic Four movie in a couple of weeks. So really, I do recommend this one. It's really
Yeah.
cool. This is your A cover by Phil Noto, but check out the first variant. It's also by Phil Noto. The only difference, look at their costumes. One are definitely more movie related, and then some are very comic related, which it maybe insinuates in the books that they did have those old
Yeah.
costumes initially, which I thought was really cool. We also have this Mark Buckingham, so that is your interior artist on it. And that is it.
Okay. Well, next up, I've got Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees Rite of Spring #1, and this is the next Beneath the Trees series. I love the first one. It was one of my favorite books that came out last year. And this is, just like the last one, this is written and drawn by Patrick Horvath. Now, this is set 8 years after the first series, and it follows the sister, and I don't think we get her name in this, or maybe we do. I think it starts with an M, but I couldn't find it in here. But it follows the sister of Daniel Brewer, which, if you remember back to the first series, that's the duck who we saw get murdered at the
It's
very
like the
beginning.
first Venom
It's the first
victim. Yeah.
It's the first victim that we saw. Anyway.
Yeah.
It wasn't Samantha's first victim, but the first time we saw her kill somebody, where she's like explaining her rules, and she's like, "I don't kill in my town. I go to the big city because it's harder to find people, and I take them out in the woods." And then it shows her killing the duck character. Well, that's the character whose sister is in this one. So the sister, she moved to the city that her brother lived in, just so that so she could look for him, because she didn't originally live there. But so she moved there, and she's been there for 8 years trying to find him. And she spends her days working at a print shop, where she's like, I originally just started here to make some extra money, and now I'm the manager. And she's like, I can print off all the copies I want for free. And she's constantly putting up flyers for her brother. But she spends her nights on the internet, which is new because this takes place in 1994. So the internet is a new thing, and she spends her nights perusing message boards for any clues about her brother's whereabouts, and she's giving details, and she's posting on message boards, hoping that somebody will say something. And then she also spends a couple times a week going to, I think she said there's like 127 different police precincts around the city that she constantly goes around talking to anybody there for any new information. And she mentions how I sometimes visit 2 or 3 precincts a week, ask them for more information, and that takes me about a year to accomplish, and then I just go right back around and start doing it over and over again. So she is gung-ho about finding her brother. One day she gets an anonymous message on one message board that she posted on that says if she wants to find her brother, she should look in the small town of Woodbrook, which is where the first series took place, and that's where Samantha the bear slash killer lives. And she does go there, but that might be the last place that she looks, and I'll leave it at that. There's a little something there at the end, but just it's so good. Like there's not really any. There's not really any killing in this. The very first page is pretty brutal, but after that, it's just the story about this character trying to find her brother, who we all know is dead, but she doesn't quite know that yet. So if you loved the first series, you are definitely going to like this too. You're going to want to check it out.
Also, the mystery of like who's writing on the message board. Who knows? Do we know that?
Maybe you find out
Okay.
who does that, but it's very, very interesting too. So I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but it's really, really cool. So I love this. I love the first series. I'm so glad that the series is back. Yeah, so I definitely recommend checking it out. But I definitely do recommend reading the first series first. If you
Mhm.
haven't read that, I wouldn't jump on this. I would go read the first one first. So this is our A cover right here, and we have this Raleigh Rossmo variant, and he did a lot of these for the first series as well. This is the Tony Fleek's movie homage variant, homaging American Psycho, and there was one of these for every issue of the previous one as well. This is the Scotty Young variant, a little bit less crazy cartoony. But you can see like the bloody like duck feather hanging out the bag there. This is the 1 in 10 A cover that you can the Virgin cover that we're selling for $9.99. And then this is our 1 in 25 Virgin Fleeks cover that we're selling for $24.99. And then this is the 1 in 50 Rossmo variant, black and white variant that we're selling for $44.99.
Well, next up, I have a fun summer book. This is Marvel Swimsuit Special #1. Much in the spirit of the old '90s Marvel swimsuit specials that we never thought would come back. That definitely seemed like an of its era.
Yep.
But I like the way that Marvel has brought this back. So this is a one shot by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks with art by Nick Bradshaw, which the art in this is phenomenal. It is really, really cool. And unlike some of those older ones that were just pinup after pinup, this actually has a story in it, and it's kind of one that, is current within the
Mm-hmm.
because it deals with Roxxon, who currently own Marvel Comics within the 616 universe, and they're just messing it up royally. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole thing about Roxxon is their kind of corporateness that they take to comics. And it begins where we see that they have released their own Roxxon swimsuit special, and on the cover is Captain America and Black Widow and Wasp, but it's AI, and it looks a little off. Wasp has 12 fingers, but they're really upset about this, also because the news has kind of taken this as like an official thing and saying like these are the heroes your kids look up to and that
Right,
kind of
right.
thing, and
And just to be clear, it's not made with AI. I mean, Nick
yeah.
Bradshaw drew it to look like it was made from AI.
Yeah,
And
which
it's
is
funny
like the
you,
funniest part.
yeah, it's funny you said like, how does somebody draw something? Like, what do you have to do to
If
make
it,
it look like AI? Give them extra fingers and stuff.
yeah, there's just some like wonky angles and
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff that makes it really cool to see Nick Bradshaw's version of that. But uh, so the Avengers are all in Avengers Mansion, and it's actually a really cool roster of characters in there, including like Wonder Man,
yeah,
Wasp, Captain America, Black Widow, Spider Man. Um, and Wasp has the idea like, hey, why don't we, to kind of combat this, do our own swimsuit special? And it does seem like within universe, those old ones existed as well because they all reference
yeah.
having done those years ago. And at first, it does seem like, oh well, you're just doing what they're doing, like why does that help? But she puts it a really like interesting way where says basically to take control and beat them with their own game, the difference between having your power and taking the power for yourself. So it's basically like, hey, we're going to actually do an official one and promote it and everything to kind of show like, they're very like body positive and everything. It's really her reasoning before it really does make sense. And so this becomes a thing where they're going to get together a bunch of different Marvel heroes for this and kind of either convince them to do this photo shoot or whatever. And it's really fun where they go up to like Spider-Man has a point where he's wearing his mask, but he's standing there and he's got like his two swimsuits, a
Yeah.
regular and the black suit swimsuit. They're just like a little speedo, and he's trying to decide which one. And I mean, I don't want to give away the Punisher part,
It's hilarious.
but that is the most like on point.
Yeah.
Even like with some references to the old ones. That's really cool. And yeah, it actually does have a story. There's they're fighting MODOK in that. There is action in this as you get these little vignettes of the different characters and what they're currently doing and how they kind of convince them to join in on this. And yeah, and interspersed between those story beats, you do get little pinups by some of Marvel's biggest artists right now. And it kind of is alluding to these are the photos that are going to be in this Marvel swimsuit special that they are making at the end.
Right.
So it kind of all ties together, along with the covers for this issue. All of that are part of the story that they are telling.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the ones from the 90s, but also there's a story in here too,
Yeah.
unlike the ones from the 90s. Like this one has all the pinups, but also a story.
Yeah,
So
and the story is really fun. The art is great. The characters that are involved went like way further than I thought they would.
Yeah.
With bringing in Punisher and like Ghost Riders there and some of those. And then you just get a bunch of like little fun one panel jokes like the Spider-Man one and all of that. So I really recommend this. I thought it was kind of a breath of fresh air among when you're reading a lot of like dark books and everything. To have one that like the heroes don't take themselves super serious. It's all within the same Marvel universe, but it's different lenses you're looking at these characters through.
And there's no continuity. There's no nothing like that. It's just it's a
Yeah, it's
one and
not
done.
at the end. It's like, and now we have a new Captain America.
Yeah,
it's nothing like that. But it does kind of end abruptly. But if you do treat the covers as the final product, you'll kind of get the full picture. But I thought it was really fun. I'm definitely going to recommend this. Especially, it just reminds me of some of the classic stories.
Oh yeah, it takes me back to my childhood.
Yeah, it's even almost like the old X-Men issues where they're playing baseball or stuff.
Yeah.
Let's take it out of the dark and gritty and show these characters actually like enjoying, like they seem like friends in this and stuff. So really cool. We've got this A cover by Adam Hughes that is a wraparound cover, which is really nice. Some phenomenal covers for this, as you can imagine. We've got this great Terry Dodson cover with Black Cat and I guess Black Panther. Is that supposed to be Black Panther?
Yeah, I think so.
He's just got cheetah print pants.
Yeah.
We also have a Villalobos variant with, I think, Scarlet Witch and Johnny Storm. We've got this Torrin Clark variant with Spider-Man and Psylocke. We've got this Russell Dodderman with Cyclops and Phoenix. We've got this Lucas Wernick variant with Colossus and She-Hulk. And then I think this is the big one that people are going to be wanting. This is the Mark Brooks. This is a wraparound cover. Kind of all the surfer, each of the girls in their surfboards, which is really fun. And their surfboards kind of like Mary Jane's has Spider-Man on it, and Black Widow has a little Black Widow logo on it. It's just really, really nice. We also have, of course, some incentives. So we have a 1 in 50 of the Dodderman. We're selling for $29.99. And we do have a, it's a damaged copy. It's not too bad, but we did mark it because it is kind of a higher ratio. This is the 1 in 100 Villalobos. We're selling for $74.99. But yeah, I think the highlight of this week is I like comics that are fun. I do like your super serious, that kind of stuff, but like with Fantastic Four, the swimsuit special, all of that, it's just like, these are bright comics.
Yeah. All right, so my next one is...
Make it appear with magic.
Poof! The UnChosen #1. Now, this is one of the ones that we don't yet have in store, which means it's not available to purchase on the website yet. It should be there tomorrow afternoon. But we have a digital preview of this, and I read it over the weekend, and I loved it. So I wanted to go ahead and tell you about it so that, go ahead and put that in the back of your mind now so that when you see it on the website tomorrow, you can know to buy it. So this is written and drawn by David Marquez. This is his creator-owned book, and I think that he's had this out there. He's had this for a few years. I remember he put this on a website that artists could showcase their own books, and I looked through it a little bit a couple of years ago. But it's really cool. So the best way that I can quickly describe this is X-Men by way of Harry Potter. So the story is centered around a group of individuals who are gifted with the power of the Word, which kind of, like in the comic visually, it kind of looks like a cross between like typical superhero energy powers and magic. So half this issue takes place in the present, where we meet a young girl named Ada, and she attends some type of school. I don't know if it's like a school or an academy or what. We don't really
For like
see the
some
school too much.
gifted like youngsters.
It's yeah, and it kind of reminds right gifted youngsters, and it's like there's like a 9 3/4 train platform. No, but she attends some type of school that teaches young people how to master the word. But she doesn't really seem to get along with her classmates, and we see her get into an altercation with one of them before one of her teachers sort of breaks it up and pulls Ada aside, and he tells her that she has a very special power inside her, but that she also needs to keep herself in check because she doesn't really know how to control it yet. But then the book jumps to the not too distant past, where we see Ada lying in a big crater that apparently she caused, and it kind of zooms out, and it looks like she leveled a town basically, but she doesn't know how she did it, and she has no memory of doing it. And two of the teachers that we saw in the other half of the book, they find her. They're like, "Oh, thank goodness! We've been looking everywhere for you. We need to get out of here because there's a group of soldiers that are looking for her as well, and they're like all armored up with guns and things like that." And one of the teachers, who is a woman named Vasha, that's her right. I forgot that this wasn't here. That's her right there with the white hair. Well, this is where it like gets real actiony and really cool. She actually takes out that group of soldiers. But then they are confronted by another group of characters who appear to be powerful wielders of the word. And so Vasha fights them as well. And I'm not going to tell you too much about that, but the fight is really, really awesome. And we see them like wielding the power of the word. And like I said, it kind of looks like magic. I guess maybe X-Men meets Harry Potter almost with a little bit of Green Lantern thrown in the way that they're like wielding the magic. Kind of, yeah. So there's some really cool action in this, and the artwork is really cool. And it's really cool. Like the artwork, it's David Marquez, so it's going to look great. And the way that the power of the word and how the characters utilize that power is really, really cool. And there's this mystery of who is Ada, because she's like a 13-year-old girl, but who is she? How powerful is she? And why are there people looking for her? And this actually kind of reminds me of what I used to love about X-Men comics, because you have this group of good guys with these fantastic powers fighting a group of bad guys with fantastic powers. And it's more than just that. I'm not trying to minimize it because there is more there. There's a really deep and interesting story there. But it's also really fun. Yeah. And you see these powerful characters doing these powerful things. And it's just really cool, and it looks great, and it kind of jumps back and forth, like so basically the timeline is supposed to be like Ada wakes up in a crater, her teachers find her, they get away from these bad guys, and then they take her to this school where they train her to use these powers, and it's very kind of like Kitty Pryde in the X-Men kind of thing. She kind of does feel like Kitty Pryde, not in powers, but she is our POV into this world, and we're following her through this world, and it's just really, really cool. So if you're like looking for a new kind of like almost like super powered X-Men type of thing, but less superpowers, more magic, but youngsters, and like it's almost like X-Men and New Mutants kind of thing. Like it's just really, really cool. So when this is available on the website, I definitely recommend checking this out. Or if you're local, it will be here by Wednesday. Pick it up off the shelf because this is a really cool book. This is what I want like X-Men comics to be. Right? And I don't have any variants because again, this isn't really here. But I definitely check this one out.
Now you got to make it disappear.
Poof.
Wow.
I know. That's my power of the word. I can make things disappear.
Well, next up, physically, I have here Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion #2, continuing our romp of Miles Morales in the new Ultimate Universe, looking for his little sister Billy, who accessed that card that the Maker gave Miles. She grabbed it. He went through the wormhole as well. They got split up.
Hilarity
ensues. Abbott and Costello meet the mummy.
Yeah.
But what is... that's Three Stooges.
Well, they're all the same.
They're all slapstick. What we did kind of guess in the first issue, Billy did end up in Wakanda. And you can kind of start seeing in this issue how they're going to incorporate all the different Ultimate books into this, or at least the main locations. I won't get into too much detail about how that happens, but at least in this one, this is a mostly Wakanda-based issue. As it seems like, I mean, it's been, I think they say maybe a few weeks or something like that.
Has
Like
it?
it's taken a while for
Yeah.
because Miles does make the point of saying like, well, in my universe, like I could get to Wakanda in like no time, and here we have to like take a flight
Like
and
an
then
8-hour flight.
an 8 hour
and then
flight and all this.
drive, and yeah.
So that's really, it's, I do kind of like that this Ultimate Universe is not like less technologically advanced, but you just don't have the heroes that have come together to create all this tech and everything. So there is quite a bit of like, well, in my universe we have this, but here we don't have this.
Miles does even say this universe doesn't even have Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
But so he's with Wasp and Giant Man, who we saw appear at the end of the last issue, and they're kind of teamed up with him, trying to help him find Billy, and have kind of have the resources and the know-how to get around the Ultimate Universe. A note I did think was interesting is Miles is like, so you're like the Avengers of this world, and they're like, we don't know what that is, but like the Ultimates, and he's like something about that word. It just is triggering something in my memory.
Yeah.
So, like, that is cool to kind of reference.
But but he knows that he's from another universe,
He,
right?
but he doesn't. No, there's a storyline where it's slowly faded from his memory. He knows that he's from somewhere else, but he doesn't remember any of the actual things that happened there.
That's confusing.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like a little thing in the back of his head. But of course, one is really cool because Black Panther and Storm and Killmonger are taking care of Billy, and they really like it. It's fun having a little kid around, and they've all kind of bonded around her and everything. But there is the thought that maybe because she is a dimensional traveler, they don't exactly know where she's from or how she got here. They can kind of sense not the Maker's energy, but like a similar kind of energy around her, and they're worried like, is she like a weapon or is she a key or something that maybe could release the Maker early? And so they're like, we really have to like protect her because this could be really dangerous if she fell into the wrong hands. But as our heroes Miles and Wasp and Giant Man arrive, all Wakanda knows is that these are terrorists because all they know is what the media has called them, which is very skewed in against them because of the cabal and the Makers Council and all that kind of thing. So there is a big fight, but things, there is some stuff worked out, but it looks like Billy in this is going to be kind of the MacGuffin. Like everybody wants to get her because they don't necessarily know how she could be used, but everyone thinks that it could have something to do with releasing the Maker early from his dome. And I won't get into too much detail after that. It is fun to see Miles meeting these characters that he's kind of familiar with within his universe, but seeing the differences as well.
And there's a big question too about where or when does this take place in relation to all the other Ultimate books, because they're all kind of like building towards something, the Maker's Dome opening, and then when does this take place? And I don't really know because like T'Challa and Storm are in Wakanda in this, whereas in the Ultimate Black Panther book they're off doing something else. So I'm not really sure. But what is notable about this book though is that this is the first time that characters from different books have met.
Yeah.
Well, not that's not true, but like this is the first time that the Ultimates have met Black Panther and Storm and all those guys. So it's kind of notable.
I could see later them referencing this, that they met each other because of this storyline. But yeah, like you said, it is a little weird. I almost felt about it like anime movies that are within the series where they're like, when does this take place? Maybe. Is it in continuity? Yeah. But it kind of like you can't really fit it into like, especially for like what's going on with Ultimate Spider-Man. Like you're seeing like literal months tick by in the book, or we've followed Black Panther in Ultimate Black Panther essentially from like it started to we know what he's doing every second or where he is. So to figure out where this fits in, where they would have time for this, is a little shaky. But just assume it happens between the cracks of the story, and that's what's going on here. but I am really interested to see where it goes next because I would like to see other interpretations of the characters. I think that will be really interesting for the next one, or how they kind of sum up some characters. But I think this is going to be like a a greatest hits of we're going through Wakanda, then we're going to, eventually we had Spider-Man in the first one. We're going to see the other Ultimates. We're going to see the X-Men. We're going to see all of those as we pass through the different Disneyland versions of these worlds. But I thought this was fun. It is a little weird to figure out where it takes place and everything, and to see if it has, not everything has to have long ramifications afterwards, but it feels like this is significant enough that it should be mentioned
Right.
in some of the other things. Like someone came from another dimension. That's kind of a big
Weird.
deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is issue number 2. Is this 6 issues?
It's 5 maybe.
5 maybe.
5 or 6.
Yeah. So we are on our way in it. We also have this really cool Sanford Green variant. I love this one. We've got this Kafu variant. We do not see Miles fight Captain Britain and Ultimate Hulk in this one. We also have this, I'm not sure what the ratio, I think this is probably a 1 in 25 by Come Coley that we're selling for $9.99 as well.
All right, I've got Predator Black, White, and Blood #1, and this is just like all the other Black, White, and Blood books that you've read, just like short little anthology stories, little one-and-done stories. Although this is cool because it's in black and white and red, but also green because humans' blood is red, but Predator's blood is green, so they have to work both blood colors in there.
Eventually, it's going to be so many colors, it's just going to look like a normal
Like
book.
a normal comic, yeah. So there's 3 different stories in this, and the first one is called Bloodwood, and it's part 1. This story is going to continue into the next book, and it's written by Joe Kelly. The art is by Alvaro Lopez, and it's set in Australia, I think in like the 1800s. Kind of like reminds me of like the times of like the California Gold Rush and that kind of thing, but it's in Australia. And it's about a woman named Millie, and she works serving drinks in this establishment that also has dog fights. But the latest fight has another beast that has entered the fray, and we'll leave it up to you to figure out what that is. And Millie has goals of her own, like, and you'll have to read it to see like what that is, and we'll have to see like how this all incorporates these predators. The second one was really cool though. It's called Once and Future, and this one is just like a one and done story from Elliot Rahal and Brian Level. And this is kind of set in medieval times, and it's about this old man. He's on his deathbed, and he has this terrible dream about certain doom, and he tells his young apprentice that the holy relic, although I don't think we ever really see what that relic is, but he says the relic is no longer safe and you need to take it north and keep the relic close to you. And so to do that, the young man, the young apprentice, he enlists the help of a soldier named Bran who helps him reach his destination. But during their travels, they encounter a predator. And we learn something very interesting about the young apprentice at the end. There's a really cool like final page that makes this story a little bit extra special. And then there's a place called A Place of No Honor from Sarah Gailey and Fran Galen. And the predator, this is more modern times. A predator stalks a weapons conference, which kind of looks like a high-tech gun show, that they have in gymnasiums where people selling guns, which is crazy. But this has all of these different high-tech weapons. And so a predator shows up at one, because we know that the predator is always like wanting to take on a worthy opponent, and this predator finds a place with a bunch of weapons. But this predator is surprised, and this is by their own words, surprised to find a place that's full of war but no warriors. So, and there's some pretty gruesome things that happen there. So yeah, just if you're a Predator fan, just check this out. I'm not sure, this is going to run probably 4 or 5 issues, just like short, quick little one and done stories, except for that first one that continues on. But yeah, so there's our A cover right here. And then we have this Asrar variant. And then this is our Villanelli variant. And we have, I don't have the ratio. Oh, this is the 1 in 25 Vicentini variant. We're selling that one for $14.99.
Next up, I've got our Star Wars book for the week. This is Star Wars Legacy of Vader #6, which it's a toss-up between this series and the Jedi Knights book. both of these are really, really good. Which one I like better? But in this one, it's fun because Hux is actually leading this conquest of Corellia, which Corellia is, you know, famous for its shipyards and everything. Like that's where Han's from. It's a very like factory planet, and it could mean a lot for the First Order because this takes place after they've lost Starkiller Base, after they lost Crate. They're really in need of like, for one, a win, but also a new kind of supply place and a place they could build stuff. And he thinks he's doing a really great job. Like he's, the people are backing down. You see, he's got big AT-ATs going across the planet. He's feeling really good about this. Then Kylo Ren swoops in and kind of finishes the job right at a pivotal moment. And Hux is a little frustrated by this because he didn't know Kylo was going to do this. And after he confronts Kylo and is like, if you don't mind me saying, like, it would be nice to know your plans. I don't like going into a battle not knowing the enemy's plans and my own side's plans of how this is going to go. And Kylo's like, are you talking back to me? Like, you better watch your mouth. Well, it's a really interesting scene that's definitely building up more tension if there could be any more between Kylo and Hux. But the other story in this is really cool as well because Vinay, who is kind of Kylo's spiritual guide on his quest to understand his grandfather Vader better, has been finding things that like Kylo needs to embrace or challenge or whatever to be as great as Vader was and to understand him better. And there's a big one where Vinay says there's actually a Jedi that is still alive. It's the last Jedi that survived Order 66 back when, like, I mean, that was like 50 years before or more. And it was one that Vader actually had on his list to hunt down during Order 66 in the Purge, but he says got distracted by your uncle, which is like towards Return of the Jedi when Vader and Luke were, his attention turned towards Luke, and this Jedi got away, and now he knows the location of this Jedi for Hux to go and defeat to kind of finish a job that Vader started and kind of carry on that lineage. And it is a very cool planet that's almost like Nordic or Scandinavian, Greenland, that kind of thing. And I won't get into what he encounters there, but it is setting up a pretty interesting story that should run the next couple of issues. I really like this issue. This continues to be a really, really cool series. There is your A cover for that. I love this Simone de Mayo cover. He's got such a strong sense of lighting and everything that's really nice. We also have this Sprouse Force Awakens 10th anniversary variant. We are up to 9 of 10, so only one more. And then I think they're doing the Revenge of the Sith 25th anniversary covers are the next ones. And then we have this 1 in 25 Casanovas variant that we're selling for $29.99. That's a little bit like the planet Kylo ends up on.
Well, my next one is another one we don't have here yet, but it's called Wild Animals, and this is from Mad Cave, and this will be here by Wednesday. But we have a digital preview of this as well. Wanted to go ahead and tell you about it because it's a coll book. So it's written by Ed Brisson, the art is by Andy Kuhn, and it's about a young man named Neil whose life is pretty terrible. His mom is on her deathbed. He's stuck in a dead-end job. He's about to be kicked out of his apartment and doesn't have enough money to get another one. And his childhood was not any better. His father used to be a police officer, but was killed by some crooked cops when he tried to turn those crooked cops in. And he and his mother had to relocate so that they couldn't be found. So he's just had like a terrible life. Well, one night his mother actually does pass away, and he's not able to be there with her because he's dealing with some punk kids at his job, and he's trying to get out the door, but they're causing too much of a ruckus. And so this kind of pushes him over the edge. And after finding some records in his mother's belongings that help him find the cops who killed his father, he decides that it's time to get revenge. So I like this book. You can't help but feel bad for Neil because absolutely nothing is going right in his life. It doesn't sound like really anything ever went right. Actually, he just talks about how his life was pretty good until his father was killed when he was young, and then that's just when everything started in a downward spiral. And on the surface, this does kind of feel like your typical revenge story, but the solicitation mentions Neil going deeper and deeper down this path to the point where it becomes all consuming. So it'll be interesting to see if his quest gives him what he wants, what he's looking for, or if it's only going to make things worse for him. So right now, he's just like a guy who's just down on his luck who wants to go get revenge. But what happens when he's able to actually carry out that revenge? What does that do to him? So again, not here yet, but it should be here in store by Wednesday, on the website. Probably tomorrow night is when these books should come in. But wanted to go ahead and let you know about it now because it's just really, really cool.
Pop.
Oh.
Okay, next up, I have a book we haven't talked about in a little while, but this is a big issue, so I wanted to read it and tell you about it. This is Uncanny X-Men number 17. It's kind of hard to tell from the cover that that's what it is, because this is like a movie poster, and that goes into what the storyline of this is.
Even the cover credits look like the credits at the bottom. Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah, this is this cover is a poster in the movie, which is kind of fun. So in this is almost a one and done story. It may carry on further, but I do like X-Men stories that are, little singular missions that have little seeds that go out, but you get majority of the story in here. And in this, there's a new movie releasing that is very much like Megan. It's about this little girl killer, but this she's called Mutina, and she is or at least she is portraying a mutant like slasher. And this is kind of a issue for the X-Men and the mutant community because they are just like, this is just going to once again make people see mutants in a bad light as killers, as having these powers that they can't control.
Because relations between humans and mutants are already really strained post Krakoa, and then now you have this movie that makes it look like there's a mutant slasher.
Yeah, and it puts people in a bad mindset when they see or hear about mutants. And so it kind of, the X-Men, like Kitty Pryde and Rogue, and like, you do see glimpses of the characters from the different books, like talking on the phone, being like, yep, the poster's up in my town, type thing. And apparently, like, people are really psyched about this movie. Like, it's got, like, interviews of them talking to other writers. In this case, there's some real world writers and stuff talking about like what are the ramifications of a movie with mutants as the villain and that kind of thing. But like tickets are selling out for opening night of this movie and everything. And the X-Men have basically put a curfew on the kids of being like, hey, just for like a little bit, let's lay low because this could get people kind of riotous a little bit. But of course, your new younger characters for this book, Jitter, Deathstream, Calico, and Ransom, sneak away to see the movie because they want to be like, what is this? Is it even bad? Like they I don't want to say they have an open mind about it, but they're just so curious about what it is. And you do see little snippets of the movie, which it does kind of look like a bad movie, like a bad horror movie, with a lot of like really corny stuff and everything. And they kind of come out of the movie being like, that was not even good, but it does look like it has fueled some already existing anti-mutant hate, and that is where this kind of goes. But I will say there is a time where they do want to confront the actress that played Mutina, and maybe there was more behind the movie than just, oh, we're just making a fun movie. Maybe there really was some bad blood that they meant to start with it. But on whose part, you'll have to read it to find out. This was a really interesting issue. It does kind of wrap up in the end. It escalates and then kind of fizzles, making you think that maybe this storyline could come back in a few issues or something.
And it's first appearance of this character, right?
Yeah. Mutina, although that is the character she plays, we get her like real world name. I don't know if we get like any other kind of like, what they call her or whatever, if they just call her Mutina. But yeah, a very interesting character that I do think we'll see again. But like the next issue is like the X-Men going to a fair.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, they're done with this, at least for right now. But yeah, I think this one's going to be big because of this character. And it is just very like, totally you can see Megan and that kind of slasher movie all over this. So there is your A cover. We also have this Friends. This is one of the Retrovision variants. Actually, a lot of those characters on the cover do appear in this, which is always nice. And then this is what Mutina looks like. This is your Edgecur variant.
That's a great cover.
Yeah, and I don't really know what her powers are supposed to be even in the movie. I think it's that she can make these knives kind of come out of nowhere, almost like Psylocke, but less like energy and more like solid pink blades. We also have this Rod Rice variant. This is a 1 in 25. We're selling for $9.99. Even Wolverine's scared of that movie. And then we have the big one. This is the 1 in 50 Edgecur, the Virgin variant that we're selling for $49.99.
Well, just real quick, I want to let you know that Superior Avengers number 4 is out today. If you're following this book along as part of the One World Under Doom event, in this one, Ghost tells Kristoff, who is Doom's son, she tells him who the Superior Avengers really are and what their true goal is. And then he's got to kind of figure out, like, what do I do about that? Because I don't want my dad, Doctor Doom, Emperor of the World, to see me as a failure, to think this is a big problem. And then meanwhile, the Superior Avengers launch an indirect attack on Wakanda. They don't go there themselves, but they do something that raises alarms in Wakanda. So I just want to let you know that number 4 is out. I think it's maybe a 5-issue series or maybe 6. But yeah, if you're trying to get all these, don't miss this one. And this is the only cover I have.
And I wanted to briefly mention Red Hulk number 6. This continues to be a great book. This is so much fun. Even the times where, we don't have Red Hulk, it's still super interesting. There is a little bit of Red Hulk in this, but Thunderbolt Ross has been taken captive. We saw that at the end of the previous issue. They finally caught up to him, and they've put him in this facility. Apparently he's been there a while.
Taken captive by the U.S. government, not Latveria, which is really, I think, even more interesting.
Yeah, and this facility he's in, it's not your typical facility. Like, even when he's in Red Hulk, he, like, smashes his head against the wall and nothing happens. And we learned a bit more that, like, maybe he's not just imprisoned, but maybe someone has a use for him. The other story going on this is Deathlock, wherever he was being captive, broke out and now is going to get Machine Man back from a scrapyard to rebuild him and get the team back together and hopefully save Red Hulk from his captivity. I don't want to get into too much of it, but the facility that Red Hulk's in may be doing some experiments, and we do meet, which is not a spoiler because you can see a little bit of him on the cover, and he's on the next cover, Warwolf. And I believe this is the first appearance of Warwolf, who is a super cool looking character. Very similar to like Capwolf, but the character that turns into Warwolf kind of does kind of a da-da-da, I'm Warwolf now. So
yeah, I can't find any record of him, and so I guess this is his first appearance.
Yeah, I think this is his first appearance. Cool character, so possibly a first appearance for that. And yeah, a great issue of Red Hulk. Can't wait to see where it goes next. That is your A cover. And we also have this Mike Allred variant. You see a better look at Warwolf, who is kind of like a cyborg werewolf.
Oh, no, it's not his first appearance, but I don't know if...
I don't know if it's the same one.
I don't know if it's the same one. Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent whose transformation is triggered by Mars instead of the moon. Werewolf was a field officer in Clay Quartermain's Howling Commandos.
I don't think so.
I don't know if it's the same guy, though.
And that one is one word. This one's hyphenated.
Okay.
So I don't think it may be like Werewolf 2.
It's not. It's the other one, this one is Vic Marcus. That's not his.
Yeah, no, that's not this one. So maybe they've used the name before, but this is...
Real-time fact-checking.
Yeah, that's what we are here for. But that is it for the books that we have right now. So thank you so much for watching. We had some great Marvel books on this one, like the Fantastic Four, and some great indie books like is it UnChosen? UnChosen. Yeah. So some really cool ones. Check the website for some of the books are up there now. Some of them will be up tomorrow or Wednesday morning, whenever. Just keep checking back. But some great ones that we don't want you to miss out on. Stay tuned for our show coming up on Wednesday. We'll be doing our regular in a flash show talking about the early books that you can pre-order, but we'll also be doing our live show, our letters page, where we'll try to talk about a few of the DC and Image and that kind of stuff books that are coming out this week once we had a chance to read them. Plus, it gives you a chance to check out our live letters page videos. If you haven't checked those out, they're a ton of fun where we talk about just comics and in general stuff like that, like you would if you were hanging out at a comic book store surrounded by your friends and people walk in and you say, have you read this? And they say, yeah, here's what it's about and I liked it.
And there may also be some brief spoiler-free discussion of Superman, because Andy and I are going to go see that tomorrow night.
Yeah, so we will try. We know how much
the movie, not the comic.
That like spoilers are a thing that you don't want. The last Star Wars movie got spoiled for me as I was sitting in the hallway of the theater, and I've never dropped that rage. That rage still lives within my heart. And
it's like an itch you can't scratch.
The vendetta against the man who walked out and said, "Oh, Rey's a Palpatine." I felt a rage that I've never felt before. My eyes turned red. Yeah. I started smashing walls. Yeah, so we will refrain from anything that resembles a spoiler when we do that.
Yeah, we'll talk less about the movie and the story and more just about what we thought about it.
Yeah. You'll maybe just facial reactions. Yeah. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you love comics and all the comic content, let us know in the comments what you're most excited about reading this week. Stay tuned for our videos on Wednesday. And be good, friends. We love you. Bye.